All right, so I haven't had an opportunity to watch this. So this was the summit in Quantico, Virginia today with everybody, like everybody. So wanted to watch, see how it looks, see how it turned out. So.
All right, generals, admirals, senior leaders, good morning. Wow, what a group here today.
What's up, Clipper?
I will tell you that our enemies are terrified right now that we are all in the same room, and that is a true statement. Welcome everyone to Marine Corps Base Quantico and the first ever
It's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
To the commandant and all of the Marines that have made this
General
event
Dan
possible,
Kane.
thank you. This was no small feat to put this event together in short order, and I'm glad there's pull-up bars just outside. The SEALs in the corner out there are very happy about that. I regret to inform you there will not be a PT test after this event.
I regret to inform you.
Would crush it. Last night, I had the privilege of joining the Secretary
Can you guys hear it?
And the Joint Chiefs in honoring 50 Gold Star families at the White House as the President, the First Lady, and our nation honored their loved ones' service and sacrifices. Teammates, it was a quiet and deeply meaningful event that reminded all of us that were lucky enough to be there.
A little bit louder now.
Serious
Is that better?
And unforgiving nature of the business that we are in, fighting and winning our nation's wars. Leaders, we are living in dynamic and potentially dangerous times.
Audio's
Global
good.
risk is on the rise. Our adversaries are no longer aligning.
What's going on,
They
Shane?
are aligned. And we must align with equal resolve and unity, even as we strive for and seek peace.
If the government shuts down, people will still have jobs. There may be some civilians that get furloughed temporarily, but like once they pass a budget, then they'll come right back.
We must be prepared for war. Now, more than ever,
What's up, Shane?
it is vital that we hear from our civilian leaders, understand where they're taking the department and the joint force. And today, we have the unprecedented opportunity and honor to hear directly from the Secretary of War and our Commander-in-Chief. Together, you and I and our civilian leaders have the honor of leading the finest military in the world. And we must seize every opportunity every day.
It was not a mass
firing.
firing.
Our joint force for the future.
Yeah, it was not a mass firing.
I am deeply humbled to serve with each and every one of you. And now it is my distinct honor to introduce our nation's Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth.
Please take your seats.
I didn't get a chance to watch this earlier, so I wanted to watch it now.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
So I can see the full
Joint
context.
Chiefs,
was
generals,
like
admirals,
2-hour meeting.
commanders, officers, senior enlisted, NCOs, enlisted, and every member of our American military. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over.
The person who
See,
was talking was the chairman to the Joint Chiefs, yes.
Those who long for peace must prepare for war. This is, of course, not a new idea. This crowd knows that. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated ever since, including by our first commander-in-chief, George Washington, the first leader of the War Department.
Apparently this was
It captures a simple yet profound truth.
filmed at the...
To ensure peace, we must prepare for war.
apparently this was at the Museum of the Marine
From this
Corps.
moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War
cuts.
is this: war fighting.
Everybody had a fresh haircut.
Preparing for war and preparing to win.
Guarantee.
Unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war, no one here wants war. But it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it. Our number one job, of course, is to be strong so that we can prevent war in the first place. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength. And as history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it. That's why pacifism is so naive and dangerous. It ignores human nature and it ignores human history. Either you protect your people and your sovereignty, or you will be subservient to something or someone.
Yeah, no, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs is Air Force
as old as time.
General.
And since waging war
General
is so
Dan
costly
Kane.
in blood and treasure, we owe our republic a military that will win any war we choose, or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
FAFO.
If necessary, our troops can translate that for you.
FAFO.
Another way to put it is peace through strength, brought to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both. As President Trump has said, and he's right, we have the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, and most prepared military on the planet. That is true, full stop. Nobody can touch us. It's not even close. This is true largely because of the historic investments that he made in his first term, and we will continue in this term. But it's also true because of the leaders in this room and the incredible troops that you all lead. But the world, and as the chairman mentioned, our enemies get a vote. You feel it, I feel it. This is a moment of urgency, mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow. There is no time for games. We must be prepared. If we're going to prevent and avoid war, we must prepare now. We are the strength part of peace through strength. And either we're ready to win or we are not. You see, this urgent moment, of course, requires more troops, more munitions, more drones, more Patriots, more submarines, more B-21 bombers. It requires more innovation, more AI in everything and ahead of the curve. More cyber effects, more counter-UAS, more space, more speed. America is the strongest, but we need to get stronger and quickly. The time is now, and the cause is urgent. The moment requires restoring and refocusing our defense industrial base, our shipbuilding industry, and onshoring all critical components.
We have a lot of adjustments to do.
It requires, as President Trump has done, getting our allies and partners to step up.
We going after
and
to end Venezuela after this?
America
I don't think
cannot
so.
do everything.
Not that I know of.
The free world requires allies with real hard power, real military leadership, and real military capabilities. The War Department is tackling and prioritizing all of these things. And I'll be giving a speech next month that will showcase the speed, innovation, and generational acquisition reforms we are undertaking urgently. Likewise, the nature of the threats we face in our hemisphere and in deterring China is another speech for another day, coming soon. This speech today, as I drink my coffee, this speech today is about people, and it's about culture. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves. Because no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture at the War Department. If I've learned one core lesson in my 8 months in this job, it's that personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department.
It's a whole
Not perfect
lot of bald
leaders.
heads.
Good leaders, competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, faithful to their oath and to the Constitution. Eugene Sledge, in his World War II
Bald
memoir,
heads
wrote,
and heavy brass. Yeah.
quote, "War is brutish,
Taking notes.
inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors are my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other. In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places.
I would imagine a lot of these folks
Leaders
are
can
going
only
to
control
debrief
about
their
3 of
people
them.
when they get back to their staffs.
You control how
or
well
probably
you're
already
trained,
have.
mostly how well you're equipped, and the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own. Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be.
Yeah, this will be a formation
Even then, in
brief for a lot of
combat, even
people.
if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one thing you and I can control, and we owe it to the force to deliver it.
It's going to be a lot of discussions happening
For
at
too
the
long,
staff level
we've
after
simply
this,
not done that.
or we're
The
happening
military
today.
has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. Some of it obvious, some of it hidden.
Yeah, I'd be curious
Or
to
as
hear
the
what
chairman
points
has
they
put it,
bring
we are
up.
clearing out the debris, removing the distractions,
Will the beer
clearing the way for leaders
or gain a couple
to be
permanent
leaders.
inches?
You might say we're ending the war on warriors. I heard someone wrote a book about that.
Ending the war on warriors.
For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out
Well, apparently
so-called
there's already
toxic leaders under the guise of
policies-
double-blind psychology assessments,
Apparently, there's already policies being passed
promoting
down
risk-averse,
from some of this
go-along-to-get-along conformists
Some
instead.
discussions about new policies that are getting ready
You
to
name it,
get put
the
into
department
place.
did it.
That's what I've been hearing.
Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading, and we lost our way. We became the woke department, but not anymore. Right now, I'm looking out at a sea of Americans who made a choice
Seen some Air Force changes already.
when they were young men and young women to do something most Americans will not.
I could hear
To
that.
serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God and country, for freedom and the Constitution. You made a choice to serve when others did not, and I commend you. You are truly
It's a lot of
the
generals,
best
man.
of America.
And there's probably
But
wide.
this does not mean, and this goes for
The thing I find most interesting about this is there are probably wide varying opinions among all of those people in that room, because some of them probably like the secretary and some of them might not. You know, they're keeping that opinion to themselves, but you know, it's just interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how this gets disseminated down to the lowest level.
all of us that our path to this auditorium on this day was a straight line, or that the conditions of the formations we lead are where we want them to be. You love your country, and we love this uniform, which is why we must do better. We just have to be honest. We have to say with our mouths what we see with our eyes, to just tell it like it is in plain English, to point out the obvious things right in front of us. That's what leaders must do. We cannot go another day without directly addressing the plank in our own eye,
Who knows?
without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations.
There's a lot of people in that room, man.
This administration has done a great deal
Across
from
the
day
entire
one
force.
to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions.
The
No
CG
more
says
debris.
this is the paper, and then things
As
on
I've
top
said
will get
before,
added for structural
and will say
integrity just to
again,
look a bit better.
We are done with that shit.
Interesting.
I've made it my mission to uproot the obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal. That said, The War Department requires the next step. Underneath the woke garbage is a deeper problem, and a more important problem that we are fixing and fixing fast. Common sense is back at the White House, so making the necessary changes is actually pretty straightforward. President Trump expects it. And the litmus test for these changes, it's pretty simple. Would I want my eldest son, who is 15 years old, eventually joining the types of formations that we are currently wielding? If in any way the answer to that is no, or even yes, but, then we're doing something wrong. Because my son is no more important than any other American citizen who dons the cloth of our nation. He is no more important than your son. All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter
freaking pin
that joins
drop
our
in that
ranks
room
is
right now,
entering
probably.
exactly the kind
Whenever
of
this
unit
was happening.
that the Secretary of War would want his son to join. Think of it as the golden rule test. Jesus said, "Do unto others that which you would have done unto yourself." It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this.
Yeah, that's
Do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you?
Yeah, I'm wondering how this is going to get disseminated down, because like it's like you're saying the Flyer Studios, it's like, okay, showtime's not 09, then the next guy says 08, then the next guy says 07, trickles down. Somehow you're drawing weapons at midnight because you feel like that is going to happen amongst these new adopted concepts. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I think they're probably going to push memos out, like official memos out for communication purposes that they can get disseminated down to the lowest level. But there's definitely, until they get those memos out, there's going to be a lot of interpretation of this stuff by everybody, and everyone's going to interpret it differently.
Want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops?
Yeah, imagine accidentally opening the door to that room.
Basic standards?
Just tiptoe
Or in a unit
out.
where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting? The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men, or troops who are not fully proficient on their assigned weapons, platform, or task, or under a leader who was the first, but not the best. Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high.
What's up, Yahoo?
If not, they're not standards.
What's going on, dude?
They're just suggestions.
Welcome in.
Suggestions that get our sons and daughters killed. When it comes to combat arms units, and there are many different stripes across our joint force.
So because of the fact, like what you're saying, 89 West, information gets disseminated and become washed. One person says something and another person gives their perspective and doesn't give direction information that was handed down. So I think that was why they live streamed this, was to make sure that no matter what information got passed down, you could go back, refer to this, and see, like, this is what he said. This is what was actually said. And then obviously they're going to push out a bunch of memos and stuff to prevent the whole problem with like telephone games, like what you're talking about.
The era of politically correct.
What's up, Farshot?
Overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now. At every level, either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out. And that's why today, at my direction, and this is the first of 10 Department of War directives that are arriving at your commands as we speak and in your inbox.
Oh, wow.
Today,
So
at my direction,
in inboxes.
each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only.
Male standard.
Because this job is life or death. Standards must be met.
Okay, so what that sounds like to me is that everybody across the board, if they're in a combat MOS, they're going to have to adhere to the male standards of fitness to be in that combat MOS or ground combat MOS. That's how I'm interpreting that. If you have a different interpretation, you can let me know in the chat or something, or in the comments or whatever. But that's what it sounds like to me, that they're getting rid of, if you're going to be in a combat arms MOS, there's going to be one flat standard, and it's going to be based off of the male standard for that MOS, for that ground combat MOS. That's what it sounds like to me.
And not just met, at every level, we should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. It's common sense and core to who we are and what we do. It should be in our DNA. Today, at my direction, we are also adding a combat field test for combat arms units that must be executable in any environment
combat
at any time
test.
and with combat equipment.
I wonder what that's going to be
These
like.
tests, they'll look familiar. They'll resemble the Army Expert Physical Fitness Assessment or the Marine Corps Combat Fitness Test.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance.
Oh, wow.
If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force.
Wow.
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a four-star general,
chairborne
you need
ranger.
to meet
I've never
the
heard that
height and weight
one.
standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already, but we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching. Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private, leaders set the standard. And so many of you do this already. Active, Guard, and Reserve.
Interesting.
This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards.
What about the scheduled Zumba PT?
It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes. So you have to address the small stuff. This is on duty in the field and in the rear. If you want a beard, you can join Special Forces. If not, then shave.
PBJ nom nom.
We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans. But unfortunately, we have had leaders who either refuse to call BS.
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily a signal for a conflict on the horizon. I think they're just trying to make massive sweeping changes.
Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
No more beardos.
Simply put, if you do not meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession.
All right.
I sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts.
Yeah, he's not a fan of beards.
On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders.
This is going to cut a teeny tiny portion of the military budget.
Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic.
Boxing aerobics.
Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic.
Yeah.
It is our duty.
I think he probably called them in
consistent
because he
with our
wanted to make sure he
constitutional
was
oath.
saying this to their face rather than through an
Real
email.
toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards.
It has a different
Real
impact when
toxic
it's in
leadership
person.
is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, you can have, I think SF guys,
The definition of
and there's
toxic
probably somebody
has been
else here
turned
who
upside
can
down.
clarify, but SF dudes
we're
can
correcting
have
that.
beards in
That's why today,
certain
at my direction, we're
situations and
undertaking a
scenarios
full
depending
review
on
of
what
the
their
department's
mission is.
definitions of so-called toxic leadership.
But they even make
bullying,
SF
and
dudes
hazing,
shave in their rear.
to empower
you know?
leaders to enforce standards without fear
You can't
of
just like roll
retribution
around base with a
or
beard.
second guessing.
Not
Of course,
usually,
you
anyway.
can't do like nasty
Depends on-
bullying and hazing.
maybe it
We're talking
depends
about
on
words
the
like
situation,
bullying and
I don't know,
hazing and
or the
toxic. They've
unit.
been weaponized and bastardized inside our formations, undercutting commanders and NCOs. No more. Setting, achieving, and maintaining high standards is what you all do. And if that makes me toxic, then so be it. Second, today at our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their standards. Now, we've done this in many places already,
Interesting.
but today it goes across the entire Department
I
of
haven't
War.
shaved since 2008.
Any place where tried
Nice.
and true physical
Nice,
standards
Luke.
were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original
MCCS about to
standard.
have a health and comfort.
Other standards have been
Potentially.
manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president talks about it all the time, merit-based. Here are two basic frameworks I urge you to pursue in this process.
I don't know how
Standards
this is going
I
to
call, my
impact
staff's heard all about them,
promotion retention,
the
but it'll probably have an
1990
impact,
test
some sort of a slight
and
impact.
the E6 test.
E6 test.
The 1990s test is simple. What were the military standards in 1990? And if they have changed, tell me why. Was it a necessary change based on the evolving landscape of combat? Or was the change due to a softening, weakening, or gender-based pursuit of other priorities? 1990s seems to be as good a place to start as any. And the E6 test. Ask yourself, does what you're doing make the leadership, accountability, and lethality efforts of an E6, or frankly an 03, does it make it easier or more complicated? Does the
Yeah, I think so
change
too,
empower staff
Viper.
sergeants, petty officers, and tech sergeants
For
to
the
get
most
back
part.
to basics? The answer should be a resounding yes. The E6 test, or 03 test, clarifies a lot, and it clarifies quickly. Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman. Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires
Agreed.
physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You know this is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids. Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong. Third, we are attacking and ending the walking on eggshells and zero defect command culture. A risk-averse culture means officers execute not to lose instead of to win. A risk-averse culture means NCOs are not empowered to enforce standards. Commanders and NCOs don't take necessary risks or make tough adjustments for fear of rocking the boat or making mistakes. A blemish-free record is what peacetime leaders covet the most, which is the worst of all incentives. We, as senior leaders, need to end the poisonous culture of risk aversion and empower our NCOs at all levels to enforce standards. Truth be told, for the most part, we don't need new standards. We just need to reestablish a culture where enforcing standards is possible. And that's why today, at my direction, I'm issuing new policies that will overhaul the IG, EO, and MEO processes. I call it the No More Walking on Eggshells policy. We are liberating commanders and NCOs. We are liberating you. We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells.
Closed/open reports, yeah.
Being a racist
I don't know, I haven't
has
read
been illegal in our formation since 1948.
I haven't read any of the
same goes for sexual
memos
harassment.
just yet.
Both are wrong and illegal.
Yeah, shark attacks.
Those kinds of infractions will be ruthlessly enforced. But telling someone to shave or get a haircut or to get in shape or to fix their uniform or to show up on time or to work hard, that's exactly the kind of discrimination we want. We are not civilians. You are not civilians. You are set apart for a distinct purpose. So we, as a department, need to stop acting and thinking like civilians and get back to basics and put the power back in the hands of commanders and NCOs. Commanders and NCOs who make life and death decisions. Commanders and NCOs who enforce standards and ensure readiness. Commanders and NCOs who, in this War Department, have to look in the mirror and they have to pass the golden rule test. My kids, your kids, America's sons and daughters. So I urge you all here today and those watching.
Yeah, there's a lot of new policies, a lot of new memos that have come out.
The core of this speech is the 10 directives we're announcing today.
Haven't read them all yet. There's a lot.
For Army leadership, for Navy leadership, for Marine Corps leadership, for Air Force leadership, Space Force leadership. These directives are designed to take the monkey off your back.
Comprehensive
and put you, the
review.
leadership, back in the driver's seat. Move out with urgency because we have your back. I have your back. And the Commander-in-Chief has your back.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And when we give you this guidance, we know mistakes will be made. It's the nature of leadership.
Fitness
but you should not
standards
pay
is
for
one.
earnest mistakes for your entire career. And that's why today, at my direction, we're making changes to the retention of adverse information on personnel records that will allow leaders with forgivable, earnest, or minor infractions to not be encumbered by those infractions in perpetuity.
Combat
People make honest
field
mistakes,
test.
and our mistakes should not define an entire career. Otherwise, we only try not to make mistakes, and that's not the business we're in.
Interesting.
We need risk takers and aggressive leaders and a culture that supports you. Fourth, at the War Department, promotions across the Joint Force will be based on one thing: merit. Colorblind, gender-neutral, merit-based. The entire promotion process, including evaluations of warfighting capabilities, is being thoroughly re-examined. We've already done a lot in this area, but more changes are coming soon. We'll promote top-performing officers and NCOs faster and get rid of poor performers more quickly. Evaluations, education, and field exercises.
No, this was live earlier.
Will become real evaluations, not box checks, for every one of us at every level. These same reforms happened before
Yeah,
World War II as
investigations
well.
need to be unbiased.
General
Agreed.
George Marshall and Secretary of War Henry Stimson did the same thing. And we won a world war because of it. As it happens, when he started the job, Chairman Kane gave me a frame and a photo to hang in my office. A matching frame and photo hangs in his. It's a photo of Marshall and Stimson.
Yeah, it was
World War
live
II.
at like 8 or 9 in the morning.
Those two leaders famously kept the door open between their offices for the entirety of the war. They worked together, civilian and uniform, every single day. Chairman Kane and I do the same. There is no daylight between us. Our door.
After he's done with his speech portion, we're going to cut it before President Trump starts talking, because this is the thing I wanted to watch the most, to hear what he had to say to the generals. And I mean, I'll probably watch the President Trump's portion after, maybe tomorrow, because I just don't have time for it tonight. But after this, we'll go through like the memos that he released, because I've seen some of them and I've got the memos, which I don't think I've seen anybody share them anywhere. So we'll go over those so you guys can see some of the stuff that's been pushed out.
Doors are always open. Our job together is to ensure our military is led by the very best, ready to answer the nation's call. Fifth, as you have seen,
I don't
the
typically
media
tell anybody, Clutch.
as obsessed over,
I don't talk about any of that
I
stuff.
have fired a
not on
number
the
of
internet.
senior officers since taking over. The previous chairman, other members of the Joint Chiefs, combatant commanders, and other commanders.
No offense, I
The
promise.
rationale for me has been
I
straightforward.
love you.
It's nearly
keep that
impossible to
stuff
change a culture with the same people
private.
who helped create or
Keep
even
all that
benefited
stuff
from
private.
that culture. Even if that culture was created by a previous president and previous secretary. My approach has been simple. When in doubt, assess the situation, follow your gut, and if it's the best for the military, make a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single day. But in many ways, it's not their fault.
It would be easy for you
It's
to
not your
infer.
fault.
Put it
As
that way.
foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership. An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI+ statements. They were told females and males are the same thing, or that males who think they're females is totally normal. They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish and reckless political leaders.
Yeah. I don't
Our
know,
job,
real Viper.
My job,
I think it's going
has
to
been
depend
to
on how
determine which
the
leaders
election
simply
goes
did
and who
what
gets
they
in
must
office.
to answer the prerogatives of civilian leadership,
You know?
and which leaders are truly invested in the woke department and therefore incapable
see.
of embracing the War Department and executing new lawful orders. That's it. It's that simple.
That one thing I've seen is that, like, different administrations do things differently. Like, the Bush administration did things one way and they pushed a certain agenda, and then that's what was carried out. And then the Obama administration had an agenda and they pushed their agenda, and that was what was carried out. And then the first Trump administration, they had their own agenda, and then that's what was pushed out, and that's what people followed. And then the Biden administration had their own policies and their own agenda, and that's what was pushed out, and that was what was followed. And now the Trump administration's back for their, to be number 47. And that administration has their own policies and their own agenda, and that's what they, pass out to be enforced. And it changes every time somebody new's in office, and the folks that are at all these different departments that are working for the federal government essentially are, they're enforcing the new rules and policies and regulations that the current administration at the time wants to be enforced, and that's just kind of the way it is. That's the nature of the beast.
So for the past 8 months, we've gotten a good look under the hood of our.
I think this summit was like around 2.5 hours. This video is 2 hours and 32 minutes, and that's including President Trump's remarks. the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff remarks, and Secretary Hegseth's remarks.
Officer Corps. We've done our best to thoroughly assess the human terrain.
It was live streamed.
We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions.
So this is the recorded live stream right here.
It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be
Appreciate you,
judicious,
Zoixy.
but also
Appreciate that, brother.
expeditious. The new compass heading is clear. Out with the Shirellis, the Mackenzies, and the Millies, and in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons.
Stockdale,
More leadership
Schwarzkopf,
changes
and Patton.
will be made, of that I'm certain.
Interesting reference.
Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy. But I look out at this group, and I see great Americans. Leaders who have given decades to our great republic, at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you
Wow.
for your service.
That is
But I suspect,
that is very
I know.
That is very straightforward. That was a very straightforward thing to say. Let's listen to that one more time. It's 3:28. Let's see.
Assess the human terrain. We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions. It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be judicious, but also expeditious. The new compass heading is clear. Out with the Shirellis, the Mackenzies, and the Millies, and in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons. More leadership changes will be made, of that I'm certain. Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy. But I look out at this group,
PBJ nom nom.
and I see great Americans. Leaders who have given decades to our great republic, at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service. But
Wow.
I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full. You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms. You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense.
Yeah, pretty much. He pretty much just said, if you don't like the policies that we're rolling out or the agenda that we have, then do yourself a favor and retire or resign, and we'll thank you for your service and send you on your way. That's basically what he's saying. Interesting. And then he went on to say that he believes that most of the people there like the changes that are coming. I would say that there's no way for me to know who in that audience is likes it or doesn't like it, because typically flag officers are pretty good about not voicing their opinions in uniform or even out of uniform, because it can be kind of a political position. So my assumption would be that some people in that room like the agenda and like the new policies that are coming out, and then some people in that room might not like that. But whether or not they would speak up or resign if they don't like it, that I don't know. I guess it depends on how, what their level of conviction is in their beliefs, if they conflict with the beliefs of the policies that they're interested in. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to see either way. You know what I mean? It's interesting to see a Secretary of Defense publicly, doing a live stream addressing all of the generals from the entire force. It's very, it's different. It's a different thing. It's a different approach. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why they chose to do it in person as opposed to an email or you know, a text or something like that, probably because of the impact that it has having, you know, an in-person, being there for an in-person talk as opposed to reading an email from your office. You know, I think it has a different impact, which is potentially why they decided to do it in person like this.
Constitutional leader that you joined the military to be.
Yeah,
we
that
need you
JAG
locked
officer.
in on the M, not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the D.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think a face-to-face is always more impactful than a VTC, or and definitely more than an email. Like, because you're like in person, you're there, you're engaged, you're locked in, you know.
IE of dime. By that I mean the M, military.
Yeah.
Of the instruments of national power.
Also having the brief publicly witnessed by
We have
Americans.
entire departments across the government dedicated to
Sends a
diplomatic,
message.
informational, and economic lines of effort. We do the M. Nobody else does. And our GoFos need to master it in every domain and every scenario. No more distractions, no more political ideologies, no more debris. Now, of course, we're going to disagree at times. We would not be Americans if we didn't. Being a leader in a large organization like ours means having frank conversations.
They knew they were being live streamed.
And differences of opinion.
For sure.
You will win some arguments, and you will lose some arguments. But when civilian leaders issue lawful orders, we execute.
As someone who used to set up VTCs.
We are professionals in the profession of arms.
I will say VTCs are super valuable when you're in austere environments, though, because, like, you know, just for example, when I was in CENTCOM, like, we would have VTC meetings with people that are located in all different parts of CENTCOM, and we were talking to everybody at the same time, when it's very difficult to get everyone on flights to come meet up to do a sync or something like that. So that is helpful. But I think for something like this, since they're doing sweeping changes and big policy updates and stuff, I think that was why they wanted to do it in person, because it's going to have a larger impact and it's going to mean more. It's going to be more effective, or at least like less likely to be misinterpreted.
Our entire constitutional system is predicated upon this understanding. Now, it seems like a small thing, but it's not. This includes as well the behavior of our troops online. To that end, I want to thank and recognize the services for their new proactive social media policies. Use them. Anonymous, online, or keyboard complaining is not worthy of a warrior. It's cowardice masquerading as conscience. Anonymous, unit-level social media pages that trash commanders, demoralize
Setting up a
troops,
phone call
and
for a
undermine
full
unit
bird and his
cohesion
aides
must not be tolerated. Again, O3s, E6s. Sixth, we must train and we must maintain. Any moment that we are not training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war. That is why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute.
Yo, did you hear that? Drastically reducing the mandatory training that people are going to be mandated to execute. I wonder what that means. Suck it, Marine. I wonder what that means. That's interesting. I wonder if that's like talking. I wonder if he's talking about like back in the saddle training, or like all the mandatory annual training that you have to attend as a unit and stuff like that. I wonder.
We've already ended the most egregious.
Although I'm sure every branch has their own version of that stuff.
Now we're giving you back real time. Less PowerPoint briefings and fewer online courses.
No more
time
death
in the
by
motor
PowerPoint.
pool,
I don't know.
More time on the range.
That's huge. More time on
Our
the range
job
is good.
To make sure you have the money, equipment, weapons, and parts to train and maintain, and then you take it from there. You all know this because it's common sense. The tougher and the higher the standards in our units, the higher the retention rates in those units.
Yeah.
Warriors want to be challenged. Troops want to be tested. When you don't train,
never
and you
say
don't
no to more range
maintain,
time. Agreed.
You demoralize. And that's when our best people decide.
Honestly, dude, people like shooting guns. Like most people I know in the military like to go to the range. They like to shoot weapons. You know what I mean?
To take their talents to the civilian world. The leaders who created the woke department have already driven out too many hard chargers. We reverse that trend right now. There is no world in which high-intensity war exists without pain, agony, and human tragedy. We are in a dangerous line of work. You are in a dangerous line of work. We may lose good people. But let no warrior cry out from the grave,
Japan,
if
yeah.
only I had been properly trained.
I mean, you got ranges in Camp Fuji,
We will not lose warfighters because we failed to train or equip them.
but
or
it is
resource
harder
them.
to do
Shame
training
on
out
us
there
if we do.
than Oki. Oki is a
Train
lot
like
more.
your warriors' lives depend on it. Because they do. To that point, basic training is being restored to what it should be. Scary, tough, and disciplined.
Scary.
We're empowering drill sergeants to
Tough and
instill
disciplined.
healthy fear in new recruits,
Oh, there we go.
ensuring that future
I'm sure there's some
warfighters
drill
are forged.
instructors out there that are really happy to hear
Yes,
that.
they can shark attack, they can toss bunks,
Ooh.
they can swear,
They can toss bunks and
and yes,
swear.
they can put their hands on recruits.
Wow. I know a lot of drill instructors that are going to love hearing that. I know a lot of drill instructors that are going to be happy to hear that they can put their hands on recruits again and flip bunks and shark attack and whoa, boy. There's going to be some real happy people out there. Yeah, there's going to be some real happy people out there. I know the hats out of the recruit training commands are going to be like, yes, because they're just like raring to go, man. Plus, like they've been so afraid to do a lot of things because they've been under a microscope, because some people did do some dumb stuff. I think he's about to say something about not doing anything illegal, but we'll see.
This does not mean they can be reckless or violate the law,
Okay.
but they can use tried and true methods to motivate.
Okay, so there we go. That's the key. He's not saying that we're giving them the permission to violate the law, which means you can't physically hurt people. You can't put people in dryers. You can't do stupid crap like that. You can't there's certain there's going to have to be, this is the thing. Once this gets disseminated down, they're going to have to set some sort of parameters, because you don't want everyone running around willy-nilly. You can't just be punching recruits in the face, obviously. But putting your hands on people, it adds a whole layer of just low crawl for eternity. See, that's different. Low crawling for eternity, that's, you're not physically, assaulting anybody. Like, you can't commit assault. That's illegal, right? But there's ways to motivate, like he's talking about, that you can do that's not illegal. So this is going to be interesting for all drill sergeants, drill instructors, anybody that's in a recruit training environment. They're going to be very interested to see any of these policies coming out about that.
New recruits, to make them the warriors they need to be. Back to basics.
Tree lines and bring a water
basic
source.
as well. Of course. And this basic training is not where mission readiness
With
should end.
limitations, for sure.
The nature of the evolving threat environment demands that everyone.
Because see, here's the thing, it has to be controlled. It has to be controlled because there needs to be safety. There needs to be safety lines for control, because ultimately, a recruit is valuable because you're going to make that person into whatever member of whatever branch, and you don't want to break them, because then you can't do anything with them if they're broken, right? Or they're injured or something. Probably still not going to do things that are causing physical damage to people, which is good, because you don't want to damage. I mean, ultimately, your people are your biggest asset. You don't want to damage your asset, right? So, but like he said, I think that they're going to be, empowering the training commands to have a little bit more leeway for training people. So, but that's going to be interesting. I mean, I would imagine that the commanders at those lower levels, at those commands, are going to have to figure out how they want to do that stuff.
Every job must be ready to join the fight if needed.
What's up, Lion and the Lamb?
A core credo of the Marine Corps is every Marine a rifleman. It means that everyone, regardless of MOS, is proficient enough to engage an enemy threat at sea, in the air, or in a so-called rear area. We need to ensure that every member of our uniformed military maintains baseline proficiency in basic combat skills, especially because the next war, like the last, will likely not have a rear area.
Yeah.
Finally,
That's true,
as President
because
Trump,
at the end of the day, the rear area, in the next conflict is probably going to be back in the United States. That's the rear area. It's like everything out there is going to be getting targeted by drones, getting targeted by, long range strike capabilities, stuff like that.
rightly pointed out when he changed the department name, the United States has not won a major theater war since the name was changed to the Department of Defense in 1947. One conflict stands out in stark contrast: the Gulf War. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons, but it was a limited mission with overwhelming force and a clear end state. But why did we execute and win the Gulf War the way we did in 1991? There's two overwhelming reasons. One was President Ronald Reagan's military buildup gave an overwhelming advantage. And two, military and Pentagon leadership had previous formative battlefield experiences. The men who led this department during the Gulf War were mostly combat veterans of the Vietnam War. They said never again to mission creep or nebulous end states. The same holds true today. Our civilian and military leadership is chock full of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, who say never again to nation building and nebulous end states. This clear-eyed view, all the way in the White House, combined with President Trump's military buildup, postures us for future victories if, and we will, and when we embrace the War Department. And we must. We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader. And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted, back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations, and then we have their back. It's very simple.
Flamethrowers are back on the menu.
Powerful.
I don't know about flamethrowers.
A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America.
I think more than likely what he's referring to is the rules of engagement that were in place during the Obama administration, because that's typically most of my friends that fought in the global war on terror in Iraq or Afghanistan during that period of time were the ones that had the biggest gripes for the rules of engagement, because there were points that the rules of engagement were so strict that it was resulting in like casualties and fatalities, because like for example, at one point, like you couldn't shoot somebody even if they were pointing a gun at you. They had to be actively firing at you. And other stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Don't shoot back unless you're getting shot at first was one of the big ones that a lot of my friends have had gripes about, and rightfully so, because that's like very frustrating if like there's somebody that's just, obviously a threat, but you can't shoot. They could be carrying a weapon and that person is aggressive and they're hostile and they might be a threat to you or your teammates, but you can't shoot them unless they're actively shooting at you. And there's a lot of other stuff too, but that's probably what he's referring to, because that was what his experience was. I think he was doing deployments during that period of time, I would imagine. And so that's like a personal experience of his. Now, I never experienced that. I didn't deploy to Afghanistan or Iraq during those years, so I never had that experience personally, but that's some of the general sentiment that I've gotten from talking to guys that fought in the global war on terror.
America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct
Yeah, the ROEs were
and don't necessarily
brutal, yeah.
belong
That's what everybody says.
always in polite society.
Had to fight with both hands behind your back.
We are not an army of one. We are a joint force of millions of selfless Americans. We are warriors. We are purpose-built, not for fair weather, blue skies, or calm seas. We were built to load up in the back of helicopters, 5 tons, or Zodiacs in the dead of night, in fair weather or foul, to go to dangerous places, to find those who would do our nation harm, and deliver justice on behalf of the American people in close and brutal combat if necessary.
Okay, so he does have a teleprompter.
You are different.
I was wondering if he was just like off the cuff throwing this stuff out. I was like, damn, that's a lot to remember, man. Like, holy cow. But there is a teleprompter in the back of the room. And you'll probably see it again here. I'll pause it so you can.
We fight
I'll
not
point it
because
out.
we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us. You see, the Ivy League faculty lounges will never understand us, and that's okay. Because they could never do what you do.
There's over 800 people. I think there's over 800 generals alone. And then every general, sergeant major had to be there with them as well. And their staff.
The media will mischaracterize us, and that's okay. Because deep down, they know the reason they can do what they do is you. In this profession, you feel comfortable inside the violence so that our citizens can live peacefully. Lethality is our calling card, and victory our only acceptable end state. In closing, a few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service, I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage you to look it up if you've never seen it. But the prayer, it ends like this. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect them, watch over them. And as you
I guarantee that
all of yourself
the
for
force
me,
protection for this building
help
was probably
me
off the scale.
give all of myself for them. And amen. I have prayed this prayer many times since I've had the privilege of being your secretary. And I will continue to pray this prayer for each of you as you command and lead our nation's finest. Go forth and do good things, hard things. President Trump has your back, and so do I. And you'll hear from him shortly. Move out and draw fire, because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
Room, attention.
Oh, there was some clapping, but it was silenced. Oh, there we go. Interesting. I guess after that, the president comes out. They reset the stage. Like people, yeah, they kept it going live for a while. He came out to the podium. Wait, hold on. What's this? Is he going to introduce the president?
Well, you've heard from me. So now it's the main event, our commander-in-chief. I have the privilege every single day of watching him put America first, of ensuring that our warfighters have everything they need. His compass is clear. He's easy to follow because you know he has our back. I was thinking backstage, the man who was the commander-in-chief when the War Department was created was George Washington. The man who was president when the War Department was reestablished is President Trump. And when he found out about this gathering of senior leaders, he said, I would be honored to come in order to address and thank the incredible Americans who defend our nation. He has a heart full of gratitude and love for what you do, and we get a chance to see it every day. And I'm honored that this morning you all firsthand get to see it as well. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the 45th and 47th President of the United States, our Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump.
Okay. So we'll save that one for tomorrow. I wanted to at least watch that piece. Looks like 119. So we'll do that piece tomorrow because I want to actually see that. But first, I want to see if we can find this document. Let's see. Wait, is that right? There we go. Let me see if I can get this going here. Okay. So here there's a bunch of memorandums, a whole bunch. I mean, you can see these are all signed memos from the secretary. All this, so that's a lot. I don't know if you're able to see this. Wait, you're not able to see it. Why is it not being live? There we go. All right. There we go. Yeah, you can see. Look at all this. All this stuff. It's a lot. So we'll just kind of go over a little bit of this just because I think that this is kind of interesting. Relax the mandatory frequency for cybersecurity training. Relax the mandatory frequency for controlled unclassified information training. Remove Privacy Act training from common military training list. Eliminate mandatory frequency for combat trafficking and persons refresher training after appropriate legislation is enacted. Consolidate mandatory training topics as appropriate. So this is the reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus subject memo. Let me see what else is there. Yeah. What is it called? What's that? CMT. Common military training. So common military training consolidation. Looks like the departments will provide the Undersecretary of War for Personnel Readiness an integrated common military training program plan incorporating the following. Focus on harmful behaviors, must clearly delineate the differences between prevention and response, identifying appropriate response procedures. Yeah, so this is just the memo talking about less training, less mandatory annual training. So, I mean, you'll probably be able to find this stuff. Here's another one. Implementation of military equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity reform. So this is just they're reforming the military equal opportunity program and the equal employment opportunity programs. Let's see, on April 23rd, I directed a comprehensive review of these programs. Based on that review, implementing key reforms. Complaints are promptly within 30 days addressed and dismissed if they lack actionable, credible evidence. Foster a more effective support and resolution-based program. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of different stuff. Yeah, so this is basically just talking about reviewing the programs for equal opportunity and all that stuff. Let's see. Yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff there. What's the next one? Military fitness standards. Active component members will execute 2 fitness tests annually. One will be the existing service fitness test, which everybody has. And then the second will be a combat field test for combat arms personnel, or a combat readiness test for non-combat arms personnel, or the service fitness test. So I would assume that the Marine Corps, since they have 2 fitness tests already, they have the combat fitness test and then the physical fitness test, that they're already probably good. I would imagine it looks like he's trying to form fitness with the other branches kind of mirrored off of what the Marine Corps does based on what this says. National Guard and Reserve component members will take responsibility to maintain appropriate physical fitness regimens regardless of duty status, complete 1 fitness test annually. Yeah. Here's some of the combat armed personnel. Oh, look. Okay. Sex neutral, age normed, male standard. Okay. So that's what he was talking about. So anybody in combat arms is going to have to adhere to the male standard for the fitness test. So that's what they're wanting. This is going to be different. So non-combat arms personnel, they'll have the male and female standard, I guess, based on what this is saying, if that makes sense. I don't know when this is going to get enforced, but it's coming. Combat arms occupations. Okay, so they've got the Army's combat arms occupations that are going to fall into that category. The Navy's version, the Marine Corps' version. Yeah, so all these are considered. I didn't know we had Marine explosive. Oh yeah, divers. I guess that makes sense. Okay, Air Force versions. Okay. Department of War Military Education and Training Standards Review. So it's just reviewing all the training standards. Report any changes to program standards since 1990 and make recommendations. That's going to be a very thorough. That's going to be super thorough. Wow. That's going to be a tough one. Review of hazing, bullying, and harassment definitions. Okay. Conduct that members that constitutes hazing, bullying, harassment is overly broad, jeopardizing combat readiness, mission accomplishment, and trust in the organization. To maintain lethal fighting force, leaders must be empowered to make right decisions, enforce standards, restore order, and good order and discipline. Okay, a 30-day review of the department's definitions of hazing, bullying, and harassment. Interesting. Oh no, Lily, I've been dealing with like really bad what's it called? Oh, allergies. Sorry. It's been super bad. I took some antihistamines today though, so I'm not so bad. Not as bad. Modern workforce management. Okay, talking about rewarding top performers, surveying civilian workforce, cultural refresh. IG oversight and reform, timeliness, transparency, due process in administrative actions, intake and timelines, transparency, predictability. Let's see. Policy memorandum revision. Okay. Multi-layered promotion review procedures that match or exceed the scrutiny provided by special selection review boards and can be accomplished more efficiently with less delay for the officers involved. Special selection review boards are rescinded. This rescission will allow the military departments the discretion to use promotion review procedures rather than an SSRB when an SSRB is not required by statute. Okay. So that's basically going to remove a layer of bureaucracy for the branches. The branches will be able to carry that. That's good. Special selection review boards, kind of talking about that a little bit more. Not super familiar with those. Extending the robust adverse information review to all officer selection boards and processes. 08 and below. Requirement to formally present Purple Heart medals and Valor decorations. Okay. Effective immediately, all Purple Heart medals and Valor decorations will be formally presented to the recipient or their primary next of kin in the case of a posthumous award, in a suitable ceremony that honors the recipient. The only exception is when the recipient or PNOC requests otherwise. That's good. That's good. I like that. Nice. Adverse information policy. What's that mean? Adverse information policy, strengthen, safeguard, due process, streamline promotion-related decision-making. Okay. A lot of administrative stuff. Grooming standards for facial hair implementation. All applicants, including re-entrant candidate, must meet grooming standards prior to entry. All personnel must maintain a clean-shaven face. Sideburns will be above the ear opening. Okay. Well, it's even higher for the Marine Corps, but that makes sense because the Army's always got their sideburns a lot of times. Beards, goatees, and other facial hair are prohibited unless specifically authorized. Mustaches are authorized but will be neatly trimmed, not to extend past the mouth corners or into a respirator seal zone. Okay. Cool. So mustaches are still authorized. All right. Well, I mean, and that's like pretty much that's the Marine Corps standard too, is your mustache can't extend past the edge of your lips. So I think it's the Navy standard too. Medical and religious exemptions. Only temporary profiles for medical conditions will be considered. All requests require individualized review. Approved profiles will be limited to 12 months and must include a treatment plan. Permanent conditions will result in an evaluation for administrative separation. Religious accommodations. The department will revert to pre-2010 standards. Facial hair waivers are generally not authorized. Individualized review per... Okay. Documentation demonstrating the sincerity of the religious or sincerely held belief will be a central factor in evaluating accommodation requests and must be sufficient to support a good faith determination by the approving authority. Approvals will be limited to non-deployable roles with low risk of chemical attack or firefighting requirements. Okay. Training certification, deployment personnel tracking, implementation timeline. Interesting. Grooming standards. So anyway, that's what some of the stuff is. I think the government is going to shut down because I just checked the live stream for the Senate and the House, and it said that they're not meeting until 10 a.m. tomorrow. You might be right. You might be right.